The desert winds howled across the barren landscape, carrying whispers of an ancient mystery long buried beneath the sands. For centuries, the Black Pyramid stood as a defiant enigma, its darkened stones absorbing the sun's relentless heat, unlike the golden monuments that surrounded it. No one knew who had built it. No inscriptions bore the names of pharaohs. It was as if the pyramid had emerged from the earth itself, a silent sentinel of a forgotten past. And then, without warning, it collapsed. A single night of thunderous tremors shattered its once imposing structure, leaving only jagged ruins behind. Archaeologist Dr. Elias Carter had spent his life chasing the mysteries of the ancient world, but nothing compared to the enigma of the Black Pyramid. When the Egyptian government authorized a new excavation of the ruins, he knew this was his calling. With a team of experts and state-of-the-art technology, Carter set out into the desert, determined to uncover the truth. Their initial surveys revealed something extraordinary: traces of a vast underground network beneath the pyramid's foundation. Strange symbols, unlike any known hieroglyphs, adorn the scattered remnants. But the real shock came when they unearthed a perfectly preserved chamber deep below the ruins, untouched by time. Inside the chamber, they discovered an obsidian sarcophagus, its surface etched with glowing blue markings. As Carter and his team studied the engravings, linguist Dr. Nadine Ashraf gasped. This wasn't Egyptian. It was older, much older. The moment they opened the sarcophagus, the desert trembled. A force unseen yet palpable rippled through the air. The lights flickered, the temperature dropped. And then, from the darkness within, came a voice, a whisper in a language no living soul had spoken in millennia. The ruins told a story of an ancient civilization predating the Egyptians that had sought to seal something within the Black Pyramid. Not treasure, not a king, but a force beyond comprehension. A guardian had been entombed within, not to protect the pyramid, but to prevent what lay beneath it from escaping. As the team delved deeper, the realization struck them with chilling clarity. The collapse of the pyramid had not been an accident. It had been a warning. And now, they had set something free. The whisper grew louder, forming words, unintelligible yet filled with meaning. Carter felt his heartbeat quicken. The markings on the sarcophagus pulsed like a heartbeat, and the room seemed to vibrate with energy. A gust of wind, impossibly strong for an underground chamber, howled through the excavation site. Nadine's breath hitched. They needed to close it, but it was too late. The lid of the sarcophagus slid open with an eerie silence, revealing a figure wrapped in strange black bindings, almost as if it were suspended between time itself. Then, the bindings snapped, and a pair of glowing amber eyes opened. A deep, resonant voice echoed through the chamber. Who dares disturb the keeper? The figure emerged, tall and imposing, with an aura that warped the air around it. It was humanoid, but not entirely human. Its features were both ancient and alien, its skin marked with the same symbols that adorned the sarcophagus. Carter stepped back, his mind racing. They were archaeologists, explorers. The entity studied them, its gaze piercing. They had trespassed upon the resting place of the first seal. The prison had weakened. The others would rise. Panic spread through the team. Nadine frantically flipped through her notes. There were mentions in pre-dynastic texts of beings that came before civilization, sealed away by a lost race. The keeper turned toward the ruins of the pyramid above them. They had undone what was meant to last eternity. The chamber trembled. Sand poured from the ceiling as distant echoes, deep, guttural, and inhuman, began to rise from the darkness beyond the tunnels. The team barely had time to react before the walls of the chamber split open, revealing an abyss stretching into blackness. From its depths, shadowy tendrils emerged, reaching for them. Carter grabbed Nadine's arm. They needed to get out. The team ran through the collapsing tunnels as the abyss expanded, swallowing everything in its path. The keeper watched, unmoving, before stepping forward and raising a hand. The tendrils recoiled at his command, but the whispers in the dark only grew louder. They must reseal it. But the excavation had already done too much damage. The ancient seals had been broken, and whatever had been contained beneath the Black Pyramid was no longer fully imprisoned. The expedition team barely made it to the surface as the ground behind them caved in. The ruins of the pyramid were consumed by the shifting sands, leaving only a vast, gaping wound in the earth. they looked back, Carter's hands trembled. What had they unleashed? The keeper emerged beside them, his glowing eyes scanning the horizon, the beginning of the end. From the distance, the sky darkened unnaturally, as if the stars themselves were being devoured. A chilling wind swept across the desert, and the sound of ancient voices, chanting in a lost language, filled the air. Something had awakened, and it was coming. Nadine clutched her journal to her chest. They needed to find the other seals before it was too late. The keeper's expression remained unreadable. Time was no longer on their side. As the days passed, strange occurrences plagued the camp. Electronics malfunctioned. Shadows moved without a source. Nightmares of an ancient war haunted their sleep. Carter and Nadine pieced together the writings left behind in the hidden chamber. They spoke of a being known only as the Harbinger, the one who would awaken when the seals were broken. It would not act alone. There were others, locked away in forgotten places, waiting for the call. The team set off across the desert, seeking the locations marked on the ancient maps. They traveled through abandoned ruins, cryptic tombs, and long-buried cities that had never been recorded in history. Each step brought new horrors, visions of the past, echoes of voices warning them to turn back, spectral figures watching from the shadows. One night, as they camped near an oasis, the water turned black. It rippled unnaturally, reflecting something that wasn't the night sky, but a void of endless darkness. The keeper stood silently by its edge, his eyes locked onto something unseen. "It is watching," he murmured. The next seal was in a hidden valley known only in myth. Legend spoke of an underground temple, built by those who first fought the darkness. As they approached, a sandstorm unlike any other engulfed them, and when it cleared, they found themselves somewhere else. The stars above them had shifted, and the air smelled of something ancient and wrong. Time itself felt different. Nadine gasped, "We're no longer in our world." Carter clenched his fists. They had come too far to turn back. They descended into the temple, knowing that beyond its gates lay either salvation or the end of everything they had ever known. The deeper they ventured, the more the whispers returned, now forming words that twisted their minds. Hallways stretched impossibly long. Symbols on the walls seemed to shift when no one was looking. The keeper walked ahead, his expression unreadable. What lay at the heart of the temple was something none of them were prepared to face. As they reached the core chamber, an altar stood in its center, pulsating with energy. Atop it, an ancient artifact glowed, a shard of something greater. Nadine hesitated before reaching for it, but the moment her fingers brushed its surface, reality twisted. The whispers became deafening. Visions of a world consumed in shadow filled their minds. The keeper turned to them. "It has begun." And in the distance, a second pyramid, long buried beneath shifting dunes, trembled. The awakening had only just begun.